question's for Mr. Anderson. How did it feel to go back into the like an ensemble piece of filmmaking rather than concentrating on one or two characters, but having a whole slew of characters kind of running throughout the whole film?
Felt great, for the obvious reasons, getting to work with all these people. The only frustrating thing is that it was only, for most people, it was only about 2 or 3 days, which was a drag, because just when you got started and you got excited, they leave on you and they go off to other movies. I was stuck with him mostly. But yeah, it's great, amazing. Kind of a dream come true, great feeling.
I feel awful just to concentrate on one person because this is such an amazing stage full of people, and all of y'all, much respect for the work that you've presented here. But this question is for Mr. Anderson, and I just got with this cast of thousands that you have. At what point did you decide this was going to be a flat film rather than scope? I'm intrigued for
Tech talk, all right, I like it. Good question. I love nerd questions. I love it. I think I just started shooting this way on the master, and I was thinking, did you ever see that movie, Crazy People? It's boxy, but they're good. Well, they describe Volvos as they're boxy, but they're good. I thought that boxy would be good for this movie. That was really that simple, and like good for the period, I suppose. I could talk that stuff all day long with you, but we shouldn't.
I want to just ask if anyone wants to jump in and talk about the work of getting into the period. Any of the actors, if you have a comment on it.
Owen.
Owen, what is your thought? I'm sorry, what was it?
Get yourself into the world of 1971.
Well, I guess for me it began with wardrobe. That's having, I think.
It was, yeah. I think it was, it wasn't a, complicated process getting into that world of the 70s, but it was just sort of meeting with Paul and kind of figuring out, honestly, what my character was going to be wearing. Because I had some ideas that Paul was. You didn't go with my ideas, but I had one shirt that I really wanted to wear, and I guess it wasn't 70s and the stuff. But I think it was when we landed on the overalls. Or no, you had, and you were sort of looking at some Dennis Wilson. Maybe that's what it was. It was a photograph of Dennis Wilson wearing some white overalls. And then that was
And Zoot from the Muppets, too. Zoot, the saxophone player from the Muppets, he got that hat and the glasses.
touchdown.
So, yeah, that's a good answer. Zoot from the Muppets.
Hello, I'm Dean Treadway, movie United. Mr. Anderson, great movie. I know that with There Will Be Blood, I know that you watched Sierra Madre a lot, I think. Right back somewhere. I can feel it in the movie. And I have a specific movie that I think you may have watched a little bit doing this before you did this. It reminds me a little bit of another Bogart movie, The Big Sleep. Were you, is that something that affected you? And one more question, just one quick question, Mr. Short. It's been bad since I was 13. Stand up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch SCTV at Network 90. You shine like a diamond in this movie. I'm so happy to see you and to meet you. I want to profess my love.
I can't follow that. Yeah, you're right. I saw The Big Sleep, and it made me realize, like, I couldn't follow any of it. And but and it didn't matter because I just wanted to see what was going to happen next anyway. So yeah, that was a good model to go on. Throw that stuff out the window.
Hands? Questions? Oh, hello. My question goes to Mr. Anderson. One of the more interesting formal elements of this film I found was your use of the two-shot in conversation sequences, and particularly the way you have the camera push in on the actors as they're speaking and sort of the rhythm it creates. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about finding that rhythm for particular scenes. The scene between Mr. Phoenix and Mr. Wilson seems to go on for something like 5 minutes, and it pushes in so slowly you kind of don't even realize it's happening, and then when you reach the end of it, it's sort of a surprise. That's kind of an incoherent question, but maybe you know.
No, it's a good question. I think it has to do with there's a lot of dialogue and there's two really good actors that could do it all together. And it's anytime you can do it without having to cut it together, it's so much better. Believe it or not, it's an easier day's work because you know the one thing you're going to go after and you go and do it. And Owen and Joaquin are capable enough to do it. And that was great. Yeah, it's really that simple. Okay.
You have a question? Oh, fantastic. Hi, I really enjoyed the film. It's the book has been described as Pynchon light, which is sort of like saying, for me, like Dostoevsky light. I'm wondering how many of y'all read the book.
Last night, Joanna. They all took the Evelyn Wood speed reading course.
I had my assistant read it to me. That counts. From where I'm
Hi. Can actually see me. Thank you so much. This is really a great movie. And I want to ask Mr. Anderson, it seems to me that your movies are very different from one another, but you are obsessed to some extent with this idea of masculinity and manhood. And I wonder if that's something you can talk about, and also about your decision to frame this movie with a female voiceover. So we have the female narration, and I wonder if that's something you can talk about. Thank you.
Well, yeah, she's right here, Joanna, and I've known a little bit, and I love the way she talked, and I love the way she looked, and I felt like it was a supporting character in the book, like kind of Doc's best girlfriend, not girlfriend, but gal pal, who always seemed to know more about things and was always right about things. And so somewhere along the way, probably just looking to try to do something and have a good female voice come in. I came up with the idea of trying to do it and asked Joanna to do it. And we just started doing it more and more and more. The more it worked, and I'm glad I asked her to do it. And I'm glad you picked up on it. Hope you like it. I think it works well. I think it was that if you're adapting a book that has so much, for a long time I was told that if you use voiceover, that's a no-no. Like somebody ingrained that in my mind. And I think the premise is that you have to have your characters do work for you that you can't rely on a narrator to do it. So I kind of got paranoid that you shouldn't use a narrator, but all of my favorite films use narrators and narration, and I always was paranoid to do it until now, where there was so much good stuff that character could say that was from the book, that seemed helpful to the story, and wouldn't step on it or irritate it or subtract from what was going on, but hopefully add to it at its best, and that was the idea.